Hey, Giant fans. Welcome to the Giant Insider Podcast. We're back, baby. My name is Jerry Foley. I'm the senior editor of the Giant Insider newspaper. And with me, as always, is the beat writer, the heart of Giants Nation, the co-host of the ManjaCast with the voice of the Giants, Bob Papa. Nobody beats the biz. Chris Bizignano. I say we're back like been gone forever, but it's only been 1 week. But pretty much from here on out, podcast every week till, last week next year. And then we'll soon go to 2. If not when the season starts, at least even towards the end of training camp, depending on all the updates. But good to be back. Chris, I got to say, we print this weekend, and I never talk about this, but I'm really excited about the cover of the Giant Insider newspaper this week.
Did I make the cover again? One of my articles?
Well, I leaned into the Star Wars.
I'm like on a hot streak.
Well, you always, 2 of your columns are at the top. Yeah, two of your columns.
No, I know that. I'm talking about the cover.
I leaned into Star Wars with.
I'm only kidding, man.
I leaned into Star Wars with Jaxson Dart and Abdul Carter.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
Star Wars theme.
So
okay.
I never asked this, but if you happen to have a Giant Insider with you in the locker room, maybe you just show Abdul Carter, Jaxson Dart. I think they'll laugh at it. I honestly believe they'll look at it and be like, "All right, that's cool." So
I'm gonna have to remember to bring it when the season starts because we're not in the locker room until the season starts. So
there you go. Right.
You got to remind me, Jerry. I'll bring it in. I'm sure they'll get a kick out of that.
I will. Sure. Yeah. So, but we're back, baby.
So, did you like my one? I'm not going to give away the columns so much, but did you like my one training camp competition with Carter and Tibbs?
I did, and I was going to say I was going to bring that column up tonight because I hadn't gotten it yet. And I said I always look forward to not only reading it, but like I look forward to like not just looking at it and editing, but I like reading it. Right. I like reading it because it's fascinating. Right. I get it though. I like the Jaxson Dart part of it as well.
Okay, like that. I do a little couple curveballs in this issue with that column. I do a couple of curveballos.
And speaking of Thibodeau, I know.
Look, I know you don't like my projected winner on it. I can tell.
No, I don't. I hate it.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. Okay, it's fine.
And I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just the way I see it for September 7th.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, you're probably right. You're probably right.
But we'll see. But I wanted to throw that in, and that was like a last minute adjustment. I was like, that hit me, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to have people thinking about this one and talking about it and all that stuff. So I hope you had fun with it, man. I wanted to have a little fun with it.
No, it's very good. And I like the other one too. The mini camp, even though I know everything that kind of happened, your take on the mini camp updates and all that, right? The recap. But by the way, guys, I and Chris knows this. I met Kayvon Thibodeau at Newark Airport a couple weeks ago.
He was coming back from Barbados.
He is a monster. He's an absolute monster. I looked at him. You should have 30 sacks. I felt like saying to him, like, come on. I mean, you are his upper body. Like, if he hit me ever, I think I would just explode. He's just a massive human being.
Well, look, Jerry, I've mentioned that numerous times on X.
Yeah.
Upper body. That upper body has gotten big the last few years.
Right.
Man.
Yep. He's clearly working on chest and arms and shoulders. Like he's a monster.
Yeah. Like the old Brooklyn Italian workouts, just chest and arms. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. So we do have a special guest tonight, folks. Steve Serby from the New York Post, the legendary Steve Serby, will be joining us. Listen, you know what? Before Steve starts, I got to call out John Toronto. Hello, my friends. All the gang excited for Serby tonight. Hope all is well with everyone. John, you're the best, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, buddy. Unbelievable. And what can you say
Thank you,
about
John? You're the man, brother. $20. Thank you, man. You're the man.
Come on, man. Come on.
So, Jerry, before we haven't been here. So, camp's 2 weeks from today, and everybody's getting excited. But I'll guess tonight, right? Our guest has been in the business like 50 years, man.
Oh, God, yeah.
An absolute legend in the sports world, and especially in this area, writing for the Post for a long, long time, sports writer. His legendary stories. We'll have some fun with Steve tonight, man. We've talked about coming on, and he's got 1,000 stories, and he covers the Giants. Besides the Jets, he knows all about the Giants. He's got legendary Giants stories that we'll get into tonight, But as far as the Giants, dude, look, the surprise, I guess, since we've been gone, Darren Waller, I forgot he was actually on.
Oh, that was so weird.
I forgot he was actually still belonging to the Giants, and he gets traded to Miami. What the hell? So
And somehow the Giants got a 6 out of it. I would have taken a bag of footballs for that. I mean, I can't believe they got a 6. Thank God.
Yeah.
But that was what a weird way he ended. Then comes back and then gets traded. Like, and on all seriousness, man, I hope the guy gets his head together. Because it seemed like, especially with the videos he was putting out for a while, it's just something's not right. But yeah, then the Giants end up getting a 6 for him. So good move by Joe Shane to get anything for that.
Yeah. So I got to be honest with you. I looked at that Tom Pelissero tweet and I thought I got suckered, which I've been known to do a couple of times, get suckered by fake tweets. I'm like, nah, this can't be. And then I saw Pelissero's follows. I'm like, oh man, this is real. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So Darren Waller decides he wants to play football again. Probably ran out of money. And he, Miami says, all right, we traded Juno Smith and let's go get this guy. And I wish him well and everything like that. Didn't work out here, so. But we have a guest, I think, waiting in the studio, right?
I don't see him.
Oh, he's not in the studio yet.
Do you see him?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, he's not in there yet. No, he's not here yet. No.
Oh, all right. He told me he's in. Hold on.
He's 1 minute late.
No, he said he's in. Maybe.
That's weird.
All right, so we'll work on that.
Oh, man. Where the hell's Serby?
Excuse me. He just says it. He thinks he's in the studio, but let me try again.
Yeah, link again.
All right, so while we work on Steve trying to get in the studio, he's got the link in him. You obviously got your email. So we'll see if he gets that in. Hopefully we'll work this out with Steve and get him in here.
That's the first time that has ever happened, by the way. So I'll send it to him again real quick. I don't know. I usually hear the beep. I see his face. I don't see him, so I'm going to send him another link. So sorry about that, folks. But yeah, man, camp's 2 weeks away, dude. That's insane. I can't believe it's 2 weeks away. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a pretty exciting camp, right? I do. I think it's going to be pretty exciting, man.
Yeah, totally.
So I told him, Jerry, you'll be emailing him again. So
yeah, I just sent the link again. All right, here's what it is. We'll figure it out. He responded faster than anyone I've ever emailed, any guest we've ever had.
Including,
oh, really? Oh, yeah, dude. He was like, yes, can't wait. Like, I was like, oh, look at this. This is awesome. So, yeah. We'll see.
All right, so we'll try to work it out. Steve, he's on a laptop. He's going to try to get back in now. So Thibodeau, did you talk to him at all? Or did you?
I went up to him and I said, Kayvon, and no one was near him. It was so weird. Like he was getting he wasn't even getting like Newark Airport for being at an airport. Newark Airport's decent now. And he was like at one of the quick, like, breakfast bar kind of thing. Like he was grabbing that. And I said, Kayvon. And he was like, yeah. I'm still a 5-year-old, Chris. And I'm like, section 335. What's up? And I just gave him a pound.
He was probably like, what are you talking about?
No, he knew. He's like, gave me a pound. I was like, appreciate you, man. That was it. I was like, all right, see you later. That was it.
You didn't say that. That's all you said?
Yeah, I didn't say anything else.
How did you not say, hey, John Incident editor, blah, blah, blah.
Nah, I don't know, dude. It was like, I don't want to bother him. I'm sure he gets people coming up to him and asking him for selfies and shit like that. And, I kind of caved. I was like, nah, I'm sorry. I know, dude. I know.
Is Steve in the studio now?
No, I don't see him. What the hell, man? I feel like removing you and putting you back in and seeing where the hell he didn't pop up. Come on, Serby. This is bad. Let's go. Come on. It says invite. Yeah, I don't know. Where the hell is he? Let me see this. Banners.
Trying to get out special guest Steve Serby. We'll have a technical issue here.
There's only 2 of us. It's clearly only 2 of us here. If he says he's in studio, it's not like I don't believe him.
No. He's asking if he's in. I'm telling him
all he's got to do is click the link and I'll see him. Tell him to click the link. Come on,
I just
Steve.
did.
All right. My God. Unbelievable. Let's see.
He's saying he's clicking a link. Something's going on. We have technical issues tonight.
I've never had a technical issue with any
Both
guests
times
before. Just FYI. So real quick, we'll ask Chris. Robert Evans says, what did you shoot today, Chris?
It was yesterday I played. 84.
Oh, 84, dude. You got to be psyched with that. No, is that like standard now?
No, I'm playing like shit.
84 is like shit. Okay, cool.
I'm playing like shit.
There we go. Atta boy. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, hey, there he is.
I didn't see the thing on the bottom. I'm sorry about it.
It's all right. All good. All good. All good.
Hey, Jerry. Wow, Jerry. You've been either golfing or just laying on the beach.
Laying on the beach, pretty much. I don't golf. But
he's
Steve,
more
we talk about this all the
tan
time.
than me, sir.
I told Chris, you can't go by Foley. My mom was Italian, dude. The Irish in name only. I mean,
all right.
got the whole Italian thing going. So
is the lighting okay by me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good, man.
Okay.
You're good.
All right.
Yep.
So, folks, we are joined by the legendary Steve Serby of the New York Post, a good friend of mine. I love Serb. One of my guys in the media room. Jerry, just quick things. Me and Steve are like little kids at times, right, Steve? We laugh about every damn thing. We talk about
at all times.
Basically all times, yeah. I'm trying to be professional here, so we laugh our ass off a lot of times. Jerry, talk about old movies, talk about here and this. We have a good time, me and Serb. About everything. And I'll tell you everybody a quick story about, Steve's been in his business, and we'll get into it when Steve talks about his career. But from the day one in the media room, I never forget, I was sitting there, and here comes Steve, and I looked at him, I said, oh shit, this freaking Steve Serby of the Post. He walks in, and Jerry, unlike some other, clowns, I shouldn't say clowns, some other people I work with that have a little bit had an attitude when I first got there, like very like they were accomplished people, they were standoffish. Mr. Serby from day one, he goes, put his hand out, goes, Steve Serby, New York Post. And I was like,
That's awesome.
Chris, join his side. Thank you. Nice to meet you. From day one, this guy.
I thought you were someone else.
You thought I was Snake Plissken? What do you think I was? What are you talking about?
Jerry, do you know who Snake Plissken is?
No, I should know probably.
Jerry's not a movie guy. He's not a movie guy.
I'm a selective movie guy. Like if I like a movie, I've seen it a billion times, but I don't know who that is. What movie is that?
That's Escape from New York with
Kurt
Russell.
Oh, okay, all right, right. I've heard of it. I've just never seen it. All right.
Yeah, we got to tighten it up with Jerry with the movies, sir.
I'm not at the Ryan Dunleavy level where I've seen nothing, but there is a band of movies I haven't seen that would shock people. Yeah. So.
All right. How about The Dead Zone? You ever see The Dead Zone?
No.
No.
Oh my God.
Christopher Walken.
No,
sir. This is what I'm dealing with, sir. You know what I mean?
I don't know how you do it.
How about Jerry? How about Manhunter?
No. No.
He's at Dunleavy level. He's close to
one of the all-time classics.
Yeah. I'm getting great movie.
William Peterson.
No.
He's the original Hannibal Lecter's in that, Jerry. Did you ever see
yes. I've seen parts of that movie. Yeah. Okay. Manhunter.
Well, that's the original.
Right.
That's the original Hannibal Lecter in that movie.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen part of it. Yeah. Right.
So
if Hannibal Lecter played for the Giants in the 30s, Jerry would know him.
That's pretty much right. Unfortunately, yes. He's Puffy Lehman's distant cousin. Yes. So,
Sir, thank you, brother, for taking some time out. We talked about getting on and talking for a little bit. I'm so happy to have you, brother. Thanks for taking some time.
Pleasure. I know I've made the big time now. This is it. This is a highlight.
So, sir,
hundreds of thousands of viewers and listeners, and
forget about it.
An honor and a privilege. It really is. You guys, by the way, have tremendous chemistry together. Because I've been watching for years. It's just uncanny. The chemistry, it's really fun to watch.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, man.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Sir told me, I guess about a year ago, maybe last camp, Jerry. And he was like, we talked about the podcast. Steve goes, oh, yeah, I watch it every week. I'm like, what? And he goes, oh, yeah, I watch it every week. I'm like, oh, shit, Steve, I didn't know that. I was like, it was great the guys like Serby are watching every week. And so, Steve, listen, brother, for the people, that are on the podcast watching live, talk about yourself, brother. Tell everybody how many years you've been in this business, how you got started, who you started for, what made you get into being a sports journalist?
Well, I grew up reading Sports Illustrated and Newsday on Long Island and the New York Post when my father would bring it home on the Long Island Railroad. And that's basically how I learned how to read. And all I cared about was sports as a kid. Mickey Mantle was my guy growing up. Loved the Yankees growing up. Loved all the New York teams. Broadway Joe was my guy in college. I used to wear white shoes in the wintertime in college, even though they say you're not supposed to, and tie-dye pants. And I grew a Fu Manchu because of Namath. But In 11th grade in high school, Plain Edge High School in North Massapequa, Long Island, I took a creative writing class, and that class was taught by the editor of the high school paper, The Devil's Tale. And he convinced me to come out for The Devil's Tale. I became co-sports editor and majored in journalism at Ohio University. And I couldn't be a center fielder for the Yankees, so I became a sports writer.
I've used that line a million times in my life.
Yeah, I stole it from you. I stole it from you.
No, I don't even think I ever said it on the podcast. But I've said it so. Well, I couldn't make center fielder for the Yankees, so I do this. That's unbelievable. Good stuff, man. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So,
Steve, did you have?
Hey, Chris, don't ever interrupt me on this podcast.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Who the hell do I think I am? I'm sorry about that.
You know I'm teasing. I started at the Post. I started at the Post in 1972. September of 1972. Were you guys born yet? No.
I was 6 years old.
2 years away from being born.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable.
I was 6 years old, sir.
So anyway, I worked my way up. Marv Albert helped me get into the sports department. And
that's awesome.
I started writing in 74. And I started covering the Jets in 1977. And then I became the NFL writer in 83. And I had never met Bill Parcells before. And in the locker room must have been after a Jet-Giant game, I went into the Giant locker room, preseason game, and he addressed me by my first name. That's how perceptive Parcells was. The only two people that knew me that I didn't think had any right to know me was Peyton Manning coming out of a Ruth's Chris in Indianapolis with his father. With his father many, many years ago, said, "Hey, Steve," and then covering the Dallas Cowboys in Austin, Texas training camp, Troy Aikman.
Oh.
Shocked. Had no idea.
So what was it like?
You're well known. You're well known. Stop being
humble. Not surprising. It's not that surprising. I mean, I was just, maybe you missed it. I was just talking about meeting Kayvon Thibodeau, and I just did section 334. He didn't say, "Oh, aren't you the Giant Insider guy?" He did not say that. So kudos to you, Serby. I mean, my God. You have Aikman recognizing you and Peyton Manning recognizing you in Indianapolis. What was it like covering the Jets early? Because that was a rough time for them, right? In 77?
Well, it was a rough time for me. I got smashed into a locker by Richard Todd.
I was going to go ahead, sir. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, if you want to go into that, go for it. Yeah, sure.
Well, all right. 77, Walt Michaels was the new head coach. Joe Namath had left to go to the Rams. And Richard Todd was the quarterback, the sixth overall pick, I believe, in 76. Alabama kid replacing Namath in New York, of all places. It was the worst place possible for Richard Todd, who did not enjoy the media spotlight the way Broadway Joe did. And early on in his tenure, I thought the Jets were better off with the backup quarterback, Matt Robinson. So in 81, I wrote a column, and the headline of the column was, "With Todd at helm, Jets will never win Super Bowl."
You were right.
For some reason, he didn't like that. And we didn't talk for a little while after that because I heard he was really pissed off. And then weeks later, myself and a fellow named Ed Ingles from CBS Radio tried to patch things up. I think Todd was pissed off at him too. So in the locker room on November 4th, 1981, I walked up to Todd and tried to patch things up, and he started cursing me out. I cursed back at him, and I just stood there. Back then, I didn't have a tape recorder. I had a notebook. I had my notebook at my side, and I could sense there was an impending sense of doom. And I was right, because I proceeded to attack his right hand with my throat. And he smashed my head into the top of a locker. And next thing I remember, I slumped to the bottom of the locker. I looked up, and Mark Gastineau was standing over me. And he said, "You look like your nose is broken." It wasn't broken, but I was very shaken up. Todd went out to practice, and a colleague of mine, Larry Weissman, drove me to the Nassau County Medical Center, where they diagnosed me and they said I was shaken up and all that, but I was okay. And the New York Post photographer was there, and he took a picture of me. I had wearing a Band-Aid over my nose. I had a scratch on my nose. Hold on, let me see if I might have it here, actually. The headline on the next day's New York Post was, "Todd assaults our man."
Oh,
Huge,
nice.
and a huge picture of me with a Band-Aid on my nose. and it was a very trying time because I had a tire slashed in my parking lot, in my parking spot. I remember going to a hardware store and buying a metal object because I was afraid somebody might assault me, some Jet fan. And then I'm sitting there 2 weeks later, or the week later, the Jets are playing in Baltimore. I didn't make the trip because the Post took me off for a couple of weeks. And I'm watching the game, and story of my life, Todd has like the game of his life. Now, if he throws 4 picks, he's the villain. But he throws all these touchdown passes, so now I'm the villain.
Right.
And the announcers were Bob Costas and Bob Trumpy. Mm-hmm. And they debated it was a blowout. The Jets were blowing the Colts out. And they debated Todd versus Serby on the air, much to my horror. And Costas took my side. Trumpy, being the ex-player, took Todd's side. And then a couple of weeks later, I went back to the Jet locker room, and half the team wouldn't talk to me. So I spoke to half the team that did.
Did Gastineau help you up, or you just say, "Hey, it looks like your nose is broken"? Just curious.
No, he took credit for a sack, though.
I'm sure he did.
He danced over you.
He counted that as a sack. I actually got along well with Gastineau at that time, but no, I don't think he helped me up. I don't remember, but
I'm just curious. Yeah, I'm just curious.
So yeah, I don't think so. But that was a tough time, and the Jets ended up going to the Mud Bowl a year later in '82.
AJ Dewey game,
and Todd threw 5. Yeah, AJ Dewey 3 picks.
AJ Dewey game. Yeah,
Todd 5 picks in all, and he had a chance to prove me wrong. He had a chance to get them to the Super Bowl, and he didn't do it.
Did you cover that game, sir?
I was there. Yep. That was the game where the Jets were livid that Don Shula didn't put the park on the field.
With the field.
Yeah. It was a monsoon. It really was. And that took away from the Jets' speed. They had Wesley Walker and Freeman McNeil, and that was made to order for the Dolphins.
How do you separate, real quick, how do you separate like your "I told you so" at a moment like that? And I just say that because the guy assaults you. I mean, look, very few people can not remember that and kind of be professional. Like, what was your attitude after that game?
Can you see that?
Todd assaults our guy.
Put it back a little bit, yeah.
It's all Todd assaults our guy.
Yeah. Anyway,
wow.
How did you like? What was your like? Was it a kind of like, haha, like I knew this, or how do you reconcile that after a game like that?
After a game? Oh no, I didn't even think of that. That was 14 months removed from that article and that headline and that encounter that I had with Todd. I wasn't thinking about that. I was more worried about making deadline and writing as well as I could. Yeah, no, that didn't. No, I don't pat myself on the back for those things.
I don't mean pat yourself, but at least kind of like, because someone assaults you, it's a little different than just a disagreement type of thing. Like
we patched things up. We shook hands in Cleveland the next month.
Got it.
And we got along for a while. To this day, though, he won't talk to me. I had a friend of mine in Mobile, Alabama, Danny Sheridan, the sports analyst, the odds maker, etc. He knows Todd, and on our 40th anniversary, he tried to hook us up, and Todd wanted no part of it. And that's too bad. He was a good guy. He ran into the wrong sports at the wrong time.
Yeah, no, he was pissed off about that article. Yeah. Did he? Hey, Serb, did he kind of come to you to shake hands? How did that work out?
No, it was after a game in Cleveland. I think it was a Saturday game, and we just it just happened organically. We just shook hands, and I felt good about it. I felt better about it. Yeah,
Nice.
I don't like holding grudges.
Sir, did you feel that he meant it, or was just like the Jets saying, "Hey, go make amends with that guy"? Do
No,
you
I
think
think
he kind of meant it?
I think he might have felt bad. I remember I had to drive into Manhattan to sit down with NFL security after the incident, and they ended up fining Todd. This is 1981. They ended up fining him $1,500. And
So was Pete Rozelle? I would imagine Rozelle got involved in that and everything, right, sir?
oh yeah, well the NFL security guy worked for Rozelle. Yeah. But look, Todd is lucky there were no cameras in the locker room at that time.
Oof.
Because I could have had a real huge lawsuit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can you imagine today, sir, with the X
I thought,
and all that
the same thing.
Oh my God. That would have been unbelievable.
I would have been retired in 1981.
Then you would have known me, sir. So you see how things work out? You know what I mean?
Yep. Fair trade-off.
Hey, sir, did you ever have any other kind of close things could have went bad with any athletes in the locker room besides Todd?
I remember recovering when I was a young pup, covering even before the Todd thing, Forest Hills. I remember Ely Nastasi, for some reason.
He was crazy, Nastasi.
He was crazy, and
he was a hothead.
Nothing happened, but I remember thinking he was nuts and something could have happened. And then the 15-year-old John McEnroe, I covered the Columbia Junior Tennis Championships. He lost 6-4, 6-love, and I wrote something how he got creamed. And so I'm walking to Forest Hills like a week later, however long, and he starts berating me for writing it. So McEnroe is definitely McEnroe. I knew McEnroe before he went off on the referees and the umpires. But again, we got along after that. He's a New York kid. He grew up in Douglaston. I'm in Bayside, and he's a good guy, very sharp guy. But it's funny. At 15 years old, McEnroe would tell it like it was.
That's funny, huh?
Yeah. Guys, we're going to take one break. We got a new sponsor for about 5 weeks. We're going to take one break and be right back. I'm going to get into the Giants of the 80s and how, Serby was featured on the Lawrence Taylor special on Showtime a few years back. So, guys, we'll be right back after this. Listen to the Giant Insider podcast. Hang on 1 second. I want to talk to you about a new book by author Carl Barney about something we all strive for, happiness. You weren't born to coast through life. You were born to feel alive, to wake up with energy, to live a life that excites you. The new book, The Happiness Experiment, is the tool to help you do just that. It's not fluff. It's a practical system to help you find your unique version of joy, meaning, and drive. It's time to stop surviving and start thriving. If you want to learn more, take a few minutes at the end of this podcast and listen to an interview about the happiness experiment and how you can bring it to life. Plus, to discover your unique happiness, type by taking the free assessment at myhappinesstype.com. That's MYHAPPINESS type.com. Then grab your copy of The Happiness Experiment at booksamillion.com. That's BOOKSAMILLION.com. Booksamillion.com. Thank you. And we're back, folks. This is the Giant Insider podcast.
That's a special one for you, sir.
Love it. Nobody reads promos like Jerry Foley. Nobody.
I'm going to take that clip there. That's going to be in every podcast right after Bob Papa says Sundays are Giant days. Nobody reads promos like Jerry Foley. Thank you, Serby. Good stuff, buddy. I want to talk about the 80s with the Giants, man. Like, what was it like covering that team and all that, and LT and Parcells? You must have a million stories.
Oh, it was great. I mean, 86, the 86 Super Bowl. We had Phil McConkey do a diary for us during Super Bowl week in Pasadena. Remember McConkey with the white towel and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
He was the most colorful guy on that team by far. And Lawrence Taylor, Lawrence was not a big media guy. I think everybody knows that. What I used to do with him, when he used to walk out of the locker room, I would walk with him, and he'd start saying, "I'm not talking. Get away from me, Serby. Get out of here." And I'd keep walking with him. He must have thought I was crazy. And finally, at some point, well, during our little walk to his car, he would start answering the questions. And when he did, nobody answered like he did. He was so insightful, so knowledgeable. He was one of the best quotes on the team. He just didn't want to be bothered with the media. And of course, years later, I ended up writing a book with him, LT Over the Edge.
Yep.
And he'd fly in from Florida, where he lives, every 2 months or so. He had an apartment in Hackensack, I believe it was. And we'd sit for 2 hours. Then he'd have to go catch a plane back to Florida. Then he'd come back 2 months later. We'd do it again. And it was quite an ordeal. But when he puts his mind to something, he's the best. I even to this day, I love talking to him. Even when I get him on the phone and he says, "I don't want to talk about that." And Parcells is the same way. You get Parcells on the phone. He goes, I'm not interested in that. Don't quote me on that." But then once you get them going, they're the best. They're the best, those two. And then, of course, Phil Simms. Back in those days, we could walk into the parking lot where the players parked. So I would wait till it got dark out. If Simms was not in the locker room during the media portion, I would wait until Simms left the locker room and walk him to his car in the parking lot. And actually Simms had to lift weights first. So I had to wait for him to finish lifting weights, walking him out to his car and conducting interviews. Now I miss those days in the parking lots. Parcells got rid of those when he started coaching the Jets in '97. The Rich Kotite Country Club. He put an end to that, and he put an end to the parking lot forever. So now we can't get into the players' parking lot anymore. But those were loved those teams. Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson was a rookie, right? 86?
86 a rookie, yeah.
William Roberts, Gary Reasons, Carl Banks.
Yeah.
I remember sitting next to Banks during an interview session, and I was right next to him, and my chair started to fall. And Banks is answering a question. He just calmly reached out and prevented my chair from falling and kept answering the question. He was cool. Still is to this day. I know he's a big fan of you guys. I know that. Joe Morris was not a big media guy. Dave Meggett was not a big media guy.
Losing Serby.
You break it up, sir.
Breaking up a little bit.
When Bavaro played, he did no media.
Yeah.
Damn, he's breaking up.
Tell him to log out and log back in if you can.
He bolted.
Okay, we're good. Well, yeah,
Serb, if you can hear me, you're breaking up. We're losing you.
I don't know if you want to shoot him a text because these are great stories. I want to get back to this.
Yeah.
I can remove him and then he can go back in. I'm going to remove him. I'm going to kick him from the...
I'm texting him now to log back in.
Yeah, I just kicked him from the studio, so he logs back in. I wonder if that was the issue before. Dude, I can listen to him all day. I hope he gets back in.
Right.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's got great stories from the 80s.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. He could tell you a lot of great stuff.
How funny is that, dude, though? Like, Parcells.
Yeah. The Parcells? What? Which one?
Well, just the fact that, of course Parcells doesn't want to talk to you, and then he starts talking and doesn't shut up. Of course, that's the story, But the Richard Todd thing's crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty unbelievable. Okay, hold on. All right, sir. Get back in. Good.
Joe Morris. Pick up with Joe Morris.
Joe Morris, he was not a big media guy. Yeah. Hell of a player, but not a big media guy. Parcells' lieutenants back then were Harry Carson and George Martin.
Yep.
Those they ruled the locker room. Lawrence, of course, would sometimes show up hungover on Sundays, but So he was not one of Parcells' lieutenants, even though Parcells loved him and Taylor loved Parcells. But Bavaro, I remember the thing about Bavaro. Nowadays, you can call Bavaro and he's great. He'll talk. You can't shut him up. Back when Bavaro played, he didn't want anything to do with the media. He just didn't want any part of it. He was busy rehabbing. He was hurt most of the time. Talk about a profile in courage. That was Mark Bavaro. But on media day during the Super Bowl that year, Bavaro he bolted. He didn't want any part of the national media. He walked right to the bus. He was out of there. But one of my favorites, one of borderline Hall of Famer. What do you think, Jerry?
Bavaro? Oh my God, yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Talk about like your career being cut short. He's one of those guys that for a period of 3 years was the best tight end in football and maybe had the best like combination of receiving and blocking that you've ever seen. So it's just a shame that he had the knee injury and everything. But absolutely borderline Hall of Famer. Totally. Yeah. It's such a shame he was cut short with injury because for a period of time, he was the best there was.
They got a few guys that are borderline Hall of Famers. I think Carl Banks is one. I think Phil Simms is one. Otis Anderson is one.
Otis Anderson might have the best argument. I mean, all of them have an argument, but Otis Anderson, especially if it's the fact that he sat for 3 years really, right? Like 86 he didn't play, 87, 88, and then he played in 89. So in his prime, he's been on the show. He's promised us he's taking us to Canton if he gets in. He told us. So we're holding him to it. We're going with him. We're going to accompany him. So
hey, Parcells loved him. Super Bowl MVP. Ask Mark Kelso about Otis Anderson.
Right. Boom. Yep. There it is.
Hey, sir. Yeah. Hey, sir. I'll say it.
You guys haven't had LT on your podcast yet?
No. Can you make it happen for us? Come on, you're a friend of mine.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
I appreciate that.
You get that done. You'll be in the Ring of Honor for the Giant Insider. I mentioned you every podcast.
Hey, Jerry, I want to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
Could you tell me, did you once write a letter to Wellington Mara?
I did. I did.
Could you talk about that? That's fascinating.
Sure. I'd love being interviewed about this. It was, I was buying tickets from someone. It was 1999. And I wrote a letter to him. It was a 3-page outpouring of why I love the Giants, how it's me and my father, blah, 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 passed down. And, I would love to get season tickets, but there's a long wait. Is there anything you can do? And he wrote back, it was a form letter, but it was signed by him. And it said, Dear 12th Man, because I always signed it 12th Man. He said, Dear 12th Man, I'll see what I can do. You're in my pending file. And then I got a handwritten letter about a few months later saying basically that I have them both framed downstairs too, that, basically that something about the tickets are going to come through or we'll see what we can do kind of thing. Like it's kind of said the same thing in both. Right. And one day I'm at work and I got a phone call from a woman named Joanne Lamnick. And she said, Hi, this is Jerry. I said, yeah. She goes, this is Joanne from the New York Giants. We have your season tickets came through. And I said, I don't believe you. Give me your phone number. I'll call you back. So she did. And I called back and it was legit. And I didn't know how to thank him. I think I sent him like a bottle of wine and golf balls or something. I don't know. What do you send the owner of the Giants, right? Like I wanted to thank him. And that's why. And John's the same way, right? Like John Mara gets it. Like my friend did that with John Mara for the Super Bowl. So he sent him, he basically said, look, I can't give them to you, but you got to pay for them in 2011. And that's what's so hard about the Giants being so bad, because Chris and I talk about this all the time. John Mara is a gentleman. He's a good guy. They get the passion with this fan base. So Wellington Mara, John Mara, they're cut from the same cloth. And you can't speak ill of the Maras to me, man. They're just such good people. I mean, John's made some tough decisions over the years, and I get it, but the Mara family, forget it, man. Wellington Mara was a saint, and John Mara's, John Mara's a great guy. So it didn't put it this way. It didn't lower my enthusiasm for the franchise when I got those tickets and that letter from Wellington Mara. It was crazy. So.
Yeah. And the Tisches are great people too.
Right.
Of all the organizations that I've covered in any sport.
Yeah.
I can honestly say the New York Giants are by far the classiest of them all.
Yeah. Yeah, and they get it, right? Like
when
you know, they understand how it's passed down from grandfather to father to son, and you know, watching Giants on. I joke around, man. Growing up, it was my dad would golf at 6 a.m. till 9 because he just golfed. It wasn't like the casual drinking golf. He just golfed like Chris does, like maniac. Just 2 hours, 3 hours done. Come home, make breakfast. We go to Sunday mass. Come home, watch the Giants. That was my Sunday growing up. Watching the Giants on Sundays with my father. Wellington Mara gets that, you know, like the whole Mara family understands that. I'm not unique in that aspect. Everyone has the same kind of similar experiences. So, and then being able to go every week, I went for a long run of going each week. So I don't want to take anything away from you, Steve. So I appreciate you asking me that, but this gives me a chance to talk about the Maras, man. They're such a good family. So.
And John
you ever
likes
meet Parcells?
I have not met Parcells. No.
Talk about Parcells, sir. You had a good relationship with him. He liked you, right?
Yeah, I did.
Parcells?
I remember when he was in the mood. Yeah, he was volatile. That's how he described his mother, volatile. And he was like her. He used to come in back in the old days at Giant Stadium. The writers used to work in a place that we called the dungeon, and he would walk in after practice with a cigarette, smoking a cigarette, just checking up on us. This was, I think, probably before they won a Super Bowl, but maybe around that time. He loved it. He loved the give and take with the writers.
Yeah.
And I remember in one year, he invited me up to his office, and they were about to play the Eagles and Buddy Ryan. And I remember him saying, "Watch me this week, Serby. Watch me." Well, they lost, so that wasn't one of his finer moments. But
now, sir, when you went up to the office, what did he want to talk to you about?
We were just shooting the breeze.
Oh, just shooting the breeze. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then after he left the Giants, we had lunch at Munaki's. That was one of his favorite hangouts, and he had a tuna on rye, and I probably got stuck buying for him, but that's okay. It was worth it.
It was the place in Munaki. Yeah. I forget. Yeah.
One time he got really, really pissed off at me when he was coaching the Jets before they played the Jaguars in the '98 playoff game at the Meadowlands. I had gone down to Jacksonville. I guess Coughlin was coaching at that time, the Jaguars.
Yep.
And I interviewed the Jaguar players, asking them, how would you feel if a gray-haired sports writer predicted that you were going to get blown out or lose? After the Jets blew out the Jaguars, I think at 38-24, Keyshawn had a huge game. I see Parcells talking to Dave Anderson and Mike Lupica in the locker room, and he sees me and he starts exploding out, just livid. I don't know if he cursed, but I didn't want to be anywhere near him. Smoke was coming out of his ears. He was upset that I wrote an article that could have motivated the Jaguars to beat the Jets. Turns out it didn't matter at all, but he was pissed off at me.
Jerry, you know, I'm a pretty good, I can read people pretty good, you know, and
yes,
John Mara, you know, when he meets with the media, which is once a year, maybe twice, whatever it might be, he likes Serby. He likes Serby. I could just tell when Serby, John will acknowledge, right? Serby, you obviously have a good relationship with John.
Oh, I love John. He's tremendous, and
he likes you
I
too,
think,
man.
If Giant fans knew what kind of man he was, they'd temper their emails a little bit, I think.
Well, sir, excuse me, Jerry. Let me 1 second, sir. Nothing annoys me more. Look, you know John personally for a long time. I know people that know John a long time. Okay. And nothing annoys me more. And sir, maybe you could clarify when people start putting on X, social media, or mails, whatever the hell it might be, that's saying that John Mara doesn't care about winning. How ridiculous is that, Steve? Steve, look, like I said, I know people that know him well. Now we have a guest that knows him for a long time. Steve, talk about that a little bit.
Nobody. The Giants mean more to John Mara than anyone. He's the number one Giants fan. He's the son of the patriarch of the NFL.
Yeah.
He bleeds Giants blue, and it's been driving him crazy that he talks about the wilderness years in the 70s. And here we are. Maybe it's not as comparable, but to him, it must feel like the wilderness years once again. Yeah. And there's nothing that he would love more than the Giants, a giant resurgence. And he thought he had it in 2022 when they beat the Vikings in that playoff game on the road. But as it turned out, they're still in this dark hole, and it doesn't look like he's going to get out of it anytime soon, although I think this team could be better than people think.
You know, it's pretty interesting, Jerry. Me and Serb a couple of weeks ago were watching an OTA, and Steve goes to me, "Hey, Chris, what team do you think is more talented, this year's roster or the 2022 playoff roster?" You know, and my first reaction was, Serb, they had Saquon X. I would go 20. And then Serb's like, well, think about it. You know, But if you think about it, Jerry, and Steve, I think, wrote an article in a post about this shortly thereafter, influenced by me, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously.
You and Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton told me.
Oh, forget about Slayton. More me. Anyway, so Serb wrote an article. And if you think about the two rosters, Jerry, which one is on right more talented?
Yeah, no, you brought it up a couple weeks ago on the podcast. Yeah. Couple things. I just want to point out some folks. John Toronto again. Love you guys, and Chris. This show was so much. Steve is making me think of my pops getting emotional. Serby is great. So there you go, Serbs. And of course, I got to call him out.
That wasn't John Mara, was it? No,
I think it's John Mara. Not yet. John Mara's burner.
John
Mara's
watches
burner
this
account.
podcast though. John does.
John Mara's burner
account
sometimes. Tuto always chimes in. Respect Two Kings of New York Giants podcast. Jerry, half Italian, and our paisano.
Thank you.
Biz, full Italian. Greetings from our rugby team in South Africa. My God, Tuto, everywhere. Go ahead, sir. Sorry.
But I was looking at the on the defense. Let's talk about Giants defense. And I know, Chris, you don't want to consider them top 10 yet, but think about the draft choices on that defense. They have, I believe, 5 number 1 picks, 2 number 2 picks, and 3 or 4 number 3 picks on that defense.
Yes.
That's a lot of talent. That's a lot of talent on defense.
Yeah. Dexter, Thibodeau, Burns, Carter, Banks are 5 number 1s.
The 2s are Nubin and Holland.
Yeah. And then the other. And then what about Adebo? What was he? Anybody know? Just curious.
Anyway. A 3.
Adebo was a 3. And Bobby Okereke. What was Bobby Okereke?
3. A 3.
He was a 3. Okay,
not
with
by
the Colts.
Giants, by the Colts, but still a third-round pick.
Yeah.
Drew Phillips, Darius Alexander.
Yeah. McFadden's a 5. McFadden's the lowest. I mean, one of the
correct.
Plays well.
So that's 4, 6. That's 11 guys drafted in the first 3 rounds on defense.
Yeah, crazy.
So Shane Bowen has a lot to work with.
Yes, he does. The pressure's on Shane Bowen. Everyone talks about it all the time.
Hey, Serb, there's a lot of pressure on Bowen because there's a lot of talent on that side of the ball.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
John Mara
wasn't happy with the run defense, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I put that in a column. I talked about that when I said, let's not forget what John said at the end of last season. He was sick and tired of watching offenses go up and down the field. Okay? Oh, matter of fact, sir, it was when I was out the ManjaCast with Papa, when we had Joe Sheen on, and I said to Joe, when he's talking about how much money he spent on the defensive side of the ball in free agents, I said, let's not forget what John said. He was sick and tired of watching offenses go up and down on the field on his defense. When the owner says that, right, sir?
Yeah. Well, look, if the Giant defense is as good as I think it's going to be, that is only going to help give Russell Wilson field position. And Graham Gano could be a key guy this year for them. Because with all these games that come down to 7 points or less, if Russell Wilson does not make mistakes, if he can get a moon ball or two to Slayton or Jalen Hyatt, who's looks more ripped than both of you guys put together. But
yes, sure.
I hold out hope. I hold out hope for Hyatt. I like the kid. He's a third round pick.
Me too.
I wouldn't close the book on him just yet. But if Russell Wilson doesn't make mistakes, if they can run the ball, and if the defense can set Russell Wilson up, maybe they can win some of those 6 points or less games that they couldn't with Daniel Jones. Now, look, Daniel Jones was a big reason why they had to move on from Daniel Jones. We know that. Mm-hmm. What lost me about Jones, when he lost me, was that game in Germany, right? When he didn't pull the trigger. Who was wide open?
Yeah, he was. I think it was Slade. I was Wandale.
Theo Johnson was Wandale.
I think it was Wandale. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's inexcusable for a quarterback. I know it drove Daboll wild, and that was the beginning of the end as far as I was concerned for Daniel Jones, who, look, he was a likable guy, tough guy, Eli Manning-esque, stood up to all the pressure of New York. The market wasn't too big for him, but he was not a franchise quarterback. So Daboll's future will now rest on whether he can develop Jaxson Dart. And I'm going to ask you guys, when do you see, what's the over-under on Jaxson Dart starting? What number of games?
Week 8 for me.
Week 8?
I hope I'm wrong, because if that happens, then we're already done again. But I think it's going to be week 8 for me. That's mine. That's my over-under.
Chris, what do you think?
I'm looking at a possible, after the Eagles smoke them in week 6, that Thursday night game.
Oh, all right.
And they'll have 10 days off, the mini bye, Serb. I'm looking at possibly that week.
I thought you would go later, Chris.
Look, Serb, Serb, I'm going to talk to you about that. Well, obviously, Steve, we see each other every day, in a couple of weeks. But, Steve, this is my opinion. I think Daboll wants Jaxson Dart on the field this season. I know there's a narrative out there about, they should just redshirt Jaxson.
No.
Serb, I don't agree with that one iota. I think Daboll wants Jaxson on the field as early as possible. Now, obviously, Serb, if Russell starts the season and they're surprising people in it, argument's sake, they're 4-2, which we don't see with this schedule, but hey, this is why you played them, then that's going to change, right? But I believe, A, Daboll absolutely loves this kid, Dart. B, he wants him on the field ready to roll in the first half of the season. He wants him on the field this year.
I agree 100%. Week 7 is not a bad guess. We'll split the difference between you and Jerry. Daboll reminds me of Chad Pennington. Not as a quarterback, but as far as his demeanor, he's good with the media. He's charismatic. Yeah. He's a leader. Chad Pennington was exactly that way. Dart has a little bit of a better arm. That was Pennington's Achilles heel. He didn't have a big arm at all. Yep. But he had all the intangibles, and I think Dart has those intangibles. I spoke to Lane Kiffin, his college coach, about him, and Kiffin naturally raved about him. He thinks that he and Malik Neighbors are going to have a good time together throwing the deep ball over the course of the years. And I think more than Daboll wanting Jaxson Dart to get on the field, I think John McEnroe wants Jaxson Dart to get on the field, because after last season ended, Mara's top priority, if you recall, was finding a quarterback of the future. And that's why I knew, and many people knew, that they would trade back into the first round for a quarterback. And Abdul Carter was the correct pick, but credit to Joe
worked out great. Yeah.
Credit to Joe Shane for working the league and getting Dart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, Dart has to work out. But
I started getting excited when on the promo for the ManjaCast when Charlie Weiss was on the ManjaCast talking about Jaxson Dart, and then when the Giants moved up to get him, getting that extra year as well, the option year, but everything Weiss said about Dart and how much he liked Bo Nix, and I know not everybody's right all the time, but hearing it from Weiss, I thought, all right, I just didn't want Dart at 3. That was my only thing. That was my get up and walk across the bridge in the rain pick. Once they took Carter, I said it that day. I don't care what they do after that. But then going back and getting Dart, that's where I'm psyched. And I know Chris wrote in his column, like the same thing, that Dable wants, it's pretty evident you think Dable wants Dart to win the job eventually, right? Sooner than later.
Dart doesn't have to be a superstar.
Right.
But I remember what Archie Manning told me when Eli was drafted. He told Eli, don't try to be Peyton. Try to be Phil Simms. And Dart has to try to be Phil Simms.
Yeah.
Manage the game, make throws when your best is required in the clutch, and lean on your teammates and just win games. Just know how to play the game and win the game. And I think that's what we can expect. Dart, I don't think Dart's going to be a top 10 quarterback, but with that defense, and if they get him another weapon or two, you can win with Jaxson Dart.
Sir, but I feel this organization needed a different personality leading this team. What I mean by that, we went from Eli, we know his personality. Daniel, basically like an Eli clone with his personality.
Wait a minute. What do you mean we know Eli's personality? Have you watched the Manning cast?
Well, I'm talking about when he played. Now he's a different
when he played, yeah.
When he played, okay? With us with the media, the way, his whole personality.
When he played, he would not have had him on his Manning cast.
No, not at all. But Eli, look, Eli's a funny dude. And, now he's allowed to show his personality, right? And then we had Daniel, who was not a funny dude. Daniel was very Eli-like and very serious and all that stuff. So I like that this kid Dart, he's got like that Phil Simms fire, sir. You could see it. You right? Dable, that's what Dable wants to. Sir.
That's right. I think he reminds Dable of Dable.
Josh. Yeah. Well, I talked about that too. That's why me and you were like brothers, sir. I mean, I talked about that too, because Dable, look, we know Dable's background. He had a very rough childhood. His grandparents raised him. He's a fiery, you know what?
Yep.
He'll get in your face.
And that's why he likes Neighbors too, for that reason.
He loves those guys who have that edge, okay? That's why he loves Malik, okay, like you just said. Now, he looks at Jackson. That's why he loved Josh Allen up in Buffalo, because Josh is a fiery dude. He had a cowboy mentality, a gunslinger mentality, and he thinks he could run over anybody on the football field. Well, sir, we're now around Jaxson Dart a few months. And being around this kid, very respectful, right, with the media, very respectful kid. But you see it. You see the fire in him. This kid has a gunslinger mentality. He thinks, as you know, he can run everybody over on the field, and they're going to have to bring that in on him, okay? And I talked to Charlie Weiss because his son was his coordinator at Ole Miss. And he's a fiery dude. He gets in teammates' faces. He wants to make sure everybody thinks on the same page. He doesn't want no excuses out there, no mistakes. That's what Dable likes, sir. That's why one of the reasons why he loves this kid. I'm telling you, bro. You know that.
Well, Dart is charismatic, and guys gravitate to him. And that's what you need as a quarterback. You need that in your quarterback. Guys want to play for the quarterback. And he has that quality, I think. We'll find out. But it seems that way. What did you think, Chris, when he at his first press conference, and he asked everybody to identify by name who they were? What did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought that was great, sir. I thought that was great.
Why did you say Jerry Foley though?
Well, because I was going to ask something stupid, and I was like, you know what? If when he hears this dumb question, I'll blame it on Jerry.
As I recall, you did ask something stupid, as I recall.
Jerry Foley, Giant Insider. Oh, Jaxson, how many girls you ever hang out with Ole Miss?
Jaxson, how was your stint at Alabama?
Yeah. Jaxson, what happened at Florida game? Something like that. So I blame it on Foley when something stupid is coming out of my mouth.
Okay. No, you should. You totally should.
Which is very frequent. So
yeah, but he gives people like Jerry hope.
Right.
That they have a franchise quarterback. And I mean, obviously Dable's going to have to win some games. You can't go 2-15.
Right.
But the top priority for him is to get Dart on the field and develop him, and everybody can see that development, especially John Mara, and that could save Brian Dable's job. I think Shane, by the way, I don't think he's in any trouble at all. He's had 2 good drafts in a row, it seems like. I think Mara likes the organizational structure. Shane has a good team around him. And I think Shane, it would hurt Shane if he had to fire Dable. But if he has no choice, obviously he will. Shane's going to be there for a long time, I believe.
You talk about the 2 drafts in a row, like last year. I know the roster was bad, but he drafted 5 starters in that draft. 5 out of 6 picks are bona fide starters on this team. I don't care how bad your roster is. That's good. That's a hell of a draft. And it looks like this year, I obviously again most excited about Carter. But Steve? You've been watching this team and covering them for a long time. What excites you most about this team? Be more specific if you're talking about the defense. Like what are you pumped about with this team? Or what gives you hope?
I want to see that pass rush. I mean, remember those Tuck and OC and Strahan and JPP. That was the Giants' identity, and that'll be their identity this year. I remember Jerry Reese. Jerry Reese used to tell his pass rushers, "Stop the run and have some fun."
Yeah,
and that's what they got to do. And I also, I hope Andrew Thomas is healthy because in many ways he's the key to that offense performing at a mediocre level. Let's put it that way. And speaking of getting back to Dable for a second, talking about the kind of guys that he likes, Scatterbo. Yeah. That's his kind of guy. That's another guy. I think Dable looks at him and sees himself. And the more of those guys you have with that kind of edge, the better off you're going to be and the better Dable will coach. Jerry, what are you looking forward to most?
Oh God, the pass rush. How Carter's going to make everyone better. Healthy Burns. Even if he pushes Thibodeau, as Chris in his article says, Thibodeau might beat him out at the edge to start. It's just what Carter brings to the table and how he makes everyone better. You already have the best defensive tackle in football in Dexter Lawrence. So yeah, I agree. It's absolutely the pass rush, but it's a healthy Burns as well to go along with what Carter can do for us and where he can line up. And like I said, man, Bowen better get creative. I want to, even if Thibodeau wins that job over Carter has to get on the field, get him out there, get creative.
Oh, he'll be on the field
all over the place. Yeah, I hope
he's going to get his 30+ snaps. He'll be on the field.
Well, now in your column, Chris, you said he better, meaning if he doesn't, it's going to be a problem. So I agree. He better.
I mean, if he's not lining Abdul up all over and taking advantage of mismatches against opponents' offensive lines, then I would fire Bone by week 4.
Right.
Do you hear me?
I thought they should have drafted Carter over Travis Hunter if they had that choice, because there's no substitute for pass rush, period.
Damn right.
Yeah,
Damn
especially in today's game. Yeah.
And don't forget, those guys up front, those big dogs will have a better chance to eat with Adebo and the newcomers, Holland, in the secondary now. It's an upgraded secondary, and Newman's second year, Drew Phillips' second year. That's going to give them an extra split second to get to the quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, sir, Tate Banks is a kid that's got to come back here. You know what I mean? Tate Banks is coming off a disappointing year, number 1 pick. So, hey, he's got to figure this out, sir. It's year 3 now. The light better go on in this kid's head because, we know what he went through last year. There was some issues with effort. We know that. We're around him. I've reported this numerous times, sir. We're around him in the locker room all the time. To me, he's very immature. He's got to grow up a little bit. I hope he does. Look, sir, you've been around forever. Some of these guys, it takes 2, 3, 4 years, and all of a sudden the light goes on in their freaking head.
That's why I don't think you should be down on Thibodeau. I think he's going to help. These guys around him are going to help him. Don't sleep on him. He's down to 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sir.
Chris hasn't winning.
As a matter of fact, I just wrote something about how I think this draft choice of Abdul Carter is going to light a real fire on the Tibbs' ass. I really do. I think you're going to see a very solid season out of Kayvon this year. I really do.
Yeah, he's 250 pounds, lean and mean. He's very motivated, very determined.
Bingo.
And what did he talk about, Chris? What did he talk about? What he had to work on?
Finishing. Finishing.
Right. That's right.
Finishing, brother. He missed a lot of sacks, so he doesn't finish at the top. Yeah.
Not good enough to be close. You got to get the guy down.
Got to drop him down. And that was something Abdul did so well at Penn State, Serb. He finishes. And then Andre Patterson, I'm talking to Andre Patterson when we met with the position coaches at camp, at the OTAs, at mandatory camp. And Dre was like, and Coach Patterson was like, look, this kid caught it, man. He's a finisher. We saw it on tape. And he goes, this is what Kayvon's got to get at. He's got to finish. Like, Serb, he could easily look, you can't. When you finish, you go from 5.5 sacks to 10.5 sacks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a big friggin' difference, brother.
Well, he had double-digit sacks in his second year. People forget that. And he was hurt. He was hurt last year, too.
Yeah. No, he missed 4 or 5 games, whatever it was. But look, he admits it. We see it. He's got to do a better job when he's in that pocket, finishing. No dropping that QB and getting that sack. So we'll see.
And Bowen can also blitz McFadden and Okereke. They're good blitzers.
Absolutely. Yeah. He sent McFadden a lot last year. McFadden was a big blitzing. He was a downhill backer at Indiana, man. He's a good blitzing backer from the inside. I like him. What do you think about him, sir, McFadden?
He's not an all-star.
Right? He's a decent backer, though.
He's committed. He loves the game. A Shane draft choice. He's smart. He gets it. I like him. I think he and Okereke are okay, so to speak. Okay, Get it? Okereke, okay.
I did it. Very good. That's why you're here. Who you are? Yes. Yes, very good.
I have no idea. But that schedule, though.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Jerry, how would you feel if they start 1-3?
I'd expect it. I mean, I'm always disappointed when the season starts, but I wouldn't shock me.
I mean, 2-2 is asking for a lot.
Oh, 2-2 would be. Oh my God, we're in the playoff hunt.
I would like 1-3, sir, because they're going to New Orleans week 5.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a winnable game right there.
Right, yeah. That's a team in the weight division. You know what I mean?
So
I would like it. I'd settle for that, sir. 1-3 going to New Orleans.
Yeah,
and then come back on 3 days later against the world champions. So
if they can split the first 2 weeks, I'd be ecstatic. So, but we'll see. Yeah. But real quick, McFadden, you brought him up. We always say that he can't be the best player from 2022, though. That's the only thing. He cannot be the best player from that draft, you know. And for a while, it looked like he was the best player from that draft sometimes. But he's a good player.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into a few movies, sir. Before you're giving us over an hour, we really appreciate you, brother. All right, sir. Manhunter,
William Peterson. Oh, I know what you're getting at.
Dead Zone,
Dollahide.
Or who is the baddest guy? Is it Hannibal? Is it Dollahide?
Oh, I got to go with Hannibal. The mind games that he would play. You got to go with Hannibal.
Over really? Dollahide? Now Dollahide is just a brute force guy. He just bowls you over, Dollahide. Yeah. You feel Hannibal without foxing. Hannibal,
yeah. The Equalizer would be in that conversation too.
You said that. I know. You're big. You're high in the Equalizer.
And then there's De Niro in Cape Fear. Max Cady. He'd be a problem.
He'll be a problem. But who was the guy the other day you said to me, oh, this guy's a problem. He would whip Dollahide. Something, and I was like, oh, calm down, sir. You're jumping the gun a little bit. Who was that?
That was Denzel. That was the Equalizer.
The Equalizer. Okay. And I was like, sir, you're jumping the gun a little bit. That's not like you. And you're like, yeah, let me think about that one a little bit.
Yeah. No, I think Hannibal, that's a bad matchup for anybody.
Brian Fitzgerald is saying, tell him, Jerry, the baddest is Vader. He knows he knows my mind. I'm like, Darth Vader beats these guys' asses. Come on.
Sir, we're missing a lot. Oh, we're missing a lot of guys, bro. We got a whole tournament of 64 guys here. What are you kidding me? We're missing a lot of guys.
Well, the Terminator, of course.
The Terminator is up there.
Is this like a thing? We should do it.
All right, so Jerry, let me fill you in quick, Jerry.
Yeah,
so
what the hell?
Last year,
beat writers jokes or what?
I think last year,
No,
or
just
2 years
two
ago,
immature guys jokes.
yeah, just
Okay.
two infants wasting time aside.
Nice.
2 years ago at the NCAA tournament, the 64, me and Serby decided, you know what? We got to start coming up with like a Final Four in brackets with the baddest guys on television around.
Yeah.
Who would fight, who would be in the Final
Yeah.
Four and all that. So a lot of times we bring in names, Hannibal Lecter, Galahad from Manhunter, all these different villains and all that stuff. And we try to figure out who the hell who would come out on top. You know what I mean, Jerry?
That's pretty cool. That's pretty funny. It just
you gotta
can't
watch,
you
man.
can't have
Jerry, you gotta watch these movies though. You don't know what the hell we're talking about.
I would imagine though you can't have a supernatural power though. You can't have if you're like you can't put like the Predator in there. Like okay, come on.
No. Well,
No,
Jerry, who's the scariest evil movie person or television person in your view? The one guy you would not want to see in a dark alley.
Well, it's always Michael Myers. I mean, but I was a big Halloween fan, so
yeah, he was,
Halloween 1.
Well, Michael Myers is in the competition. He's in the competition.
He is in the field. Yep, he's definitely.
The amount of times I dream about Michael Myers chasing me is disturbing. It's disturbing. It must represent death to me, guys. The amount of times I'm always looking back at him, and he's far away. I'm good. It's weird, but
I hate to tell you this, Jerry. You're going to probably dream about it tonight.
Probably. Yeah. So, yeah. Nah.
Serby, you're the best, baby. Thank you so much, man. You gave us over an hour.
Hey, wait before I go, thank you guys again. Like I said, this is the big time for me. Jerry, are you going to be out at Quest at Giants at all?
If I can get another pass, yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'll see Chris. I have something for you though. Seriously, this is I'm giving this to you.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Oh, that's great, brother.
Oh my God, I'll put that behind. That's ridiculous.
I got that
great.
Graciously from the New York Post for my 100 years of service, and this one is I have two of them. They sent me two, probably by mistake, but this one is for you. This one's for Jerry Foley.
Oh man, that's ridiculous. Thank you.
That's great, brother.
Incredible. And Steve, by the way,
so well on your wall, Jerry. That'd be so nice on your wall, there, bro.
On a personal note, before I did any of this, Steve, you kept me company on Jersey Transit for about 20 years with the New York Post. Your columns got me. I mean, that commute sucks. So thank you very much. I mean, I'm not kidding. Even I remember your article about get Barry Sanders, get Sterling Sharp. They call me Mr. Loser. That was the one piece you did. Like, say, here you go. I remember all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, remember that? Call me Mr. Loser. Remember that?
Yeah.
I get emails to this day about Mr. Loser.
Yeah, and I'd be like, did Serby write one today? No. All right. Well, who else? Who else we got? Like, seriously, man. So I joked that I said the legend joins us, but you kept me company on a terrible commute for so long.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry. I mean, you guys are keeping me company now.
Good stuff. And you got to come on during. You got to come on during the season too. You got to come on during the season.
Yeah, sir. You got to come on again. Well, I'll freaking break his chops every time I see him. He'll be on.
Anytime you guys need me, I'm there.
Sorry, thank you, brother.
Your Giant Nation is lucky to have you guys.
Oh, thanks.
Serby, listen, man, we appreciate the kind words, brother, coming from a guy like yourself. So, Steve, I'll see you in a couple of weeks, brother.
You got it. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you soon, buddy. See you in a couple. Thanks, Steve.
Later, man.
The great Steve Serby, man. That was a great hour, and but that went fast, huh?
Oh my God, it flew by. Hour and 14. But yeah, he's the best. We'll have him on again. That was fun.
Yeah, he's got some great stories too. He really does. He's got a lot of great stuff, man.
I got to get to Quest Diagnostic now, dude. By the way, so
if not, I'll make sure I bring that home for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That's great. Jerry. I talk with Steve all the time. I had no idea he was doing that. That was totally
really cool.
That was a total surprise right there.
Ridiculous. But yeah, good stuff. We'll be back next week, guys. Probably we'll figure out what night. And
like I said, figure out what night. We might have another guest on, and then and then the week after that we roll into camp. So it's here.
Awesome.
Folks from next week. Well, actually, you know what? Serby was a great guest of starting this week until next January. There's a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, man. Good stuff. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Sundays are Giant days. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.